we've got new music. Welcome to Five Live Cricket on the eve of another England Test series.
Bracewell bowls, he's gone for it! We knew he would, and into the pavilion it goes. Johnny Bairstow finishes the match. I just think he's impossible to bowl at in this mood and in this form. And England win by 7 wickets. They've whitewashed the World Test champions 3-0.
But will the history of Lords be too much for an inexperienced South African side?
You're playing at the home of cricket, and it is a different feeling when you walk through those gates compared to any other gate in the world. The extra sense of the specialness when you walk into Lords. The youngsters around here, they want to be a part of hopefully creating something special and becoming legends of the game, like a lot of the cricketers in the past have been.
And what a week we've had in the 100, with records breaking left, right and centre.
Smeed on 99, Jordan bowls, Smeed guides it into the offside. There's a misfield, and Will Smeed goes to the first ever 100 in the 100.
Oh, she's got it! Hat-trick for Alana King.
5 Live Cricket.
Jack Leach will join us in a little while as well, ahead of England against South Africa. Commentary with the TMS team on Sports Extra from Wednesday morning at 10:25. We hope we might get Moeen Ali as well to talk about Birmingham Phoenix and Trent Rockets tonight. We can discuss Will Smeed's century in that. We'll talk to Alana King as well, who got the first hat-trick in the women's 100 a few days ago. With us for the next hour, Tamal Mills and Phil Tufnell, and at Edgbaston for that Phoenix Rockets game is England women's captain Heather Knight. You've just done a 6 sign to me, Heather, so I'm assuming it's nearly over there, is it?
Yeah, just 5 needed off 17 balls now. Liam Livingstone has just launched one into the sight screen down the ground.
Yeah,
okay, right. So
teeing off as well, hasn't he?
He has.
I've just been watching it, absolutely smoking it.
55 off 25 balls from Moeen Ali.
So it looks like Phoenix are going to do the double there, because they won the women's game earlier as well. We'll talk more about the 100 in a minute. Tamal, you've had to actually withdraw from it in the last few days. How are you?
Hi everyone. Disappointed. I'm sat here on my sofa with my foot up, pretty heavily bandaged at the moment. It's very frustrating. I've had this toe injury. Well, it's not even an injury really. It's a pretty bad cut, and I've had it all for the last 6 weeks or so, trying to play through it, trying to stitch it together, glue it together. But it's just got to the point where it's it starts to get a little bit infected, and I can't bowl on it anymore. So I need to get it surgically cleaned out and start again, and hopefully be fit for the winter.
Yeah, so we was down at the Aegeus, weren't we? And we all had a look at it and all sort of cringed and sort of retched at it and everything. And you were saying you might be playing in a week. I mean, that was optimistic, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, if I'm being completely honest, I played more games on it than I should have. We should have kind of stitched it, left it, and then just kind of dealt with it. But you know how it is, tough as ever when you're in the middle of the season and you've got these kind of minor things. As I was saying, I was almost preferred it to be a torn hamstring, because if you have a torn hamstring, you're done, aren't you? You're not playing. Whereas this, I felt I can do anything. I was running around fine, but obviously every time I slammed my foot down, this laceration was getting bigger and nastier and more painful. Unfortunately, I just kept making it worse, and it's got to the point now where I can't play.
I've no idea what you're planning to do, Heather, when you eventually call time on your career, but umpiring could well suit you, I think, with the gestures that I'm getting here. Is it all over?
It is. Finished with a 6 by Liam Livingstone. Full toss, carved over square leg. Brings up his 50 as well and finishes the match. 51 from 32 balls from him.
They've done the double then, have the Phoenix. How are you as well with your injury at the moment, Heather?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Obviously missing the 100, on the other side of the pitch commentating a little bit, but I'd much rather be out there playing. But yeah, I'm doing okay. The next couple of weeks are going to be quite key in terms of how long I'm going to be out, but hopefully not too long.
It's only me and you chappers that are fit, mate.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Tuffers, that's very rarely been said in all the time that we've been working together. I don't think that's been said very often.
If you haven't got any muscles, you can't pull them. That was my my theory about it. You know what I mean? Keep nice and lean.
Well, I'm struggling to keep lean as well, Tuffers, but I'll take your advice. Psychologically, how difficult is it, Heather? How tough has this summer been then?
Yeah, missing out on the Commonwealth Games was really tough. I came into the tournament with an injury, but was hoping to be back fit towards the back end, and unfortunately got worse and was on crutches by the end of the tournament, so that was quite tough, quite hard watching the girls obviously lose that semi-final against India and then miss out on the bronze medal. But yeah, it's one of those things, as Tamal will tell you, it's part of professional sport, isn't it, getting injured, but it does suck when it happens.
Yeah, what do you think went wrong there, Heather? I thought we were cruising that silver, gold, bronze medal position.
Yeah, the semi-final against India was a real close one, and India just, things seemed to go right for them, and they held their nerve quite well, which they hadn't previously done in semi-finals actually. And yeah, it was just one of those days. We made a couple of mistakes under pressure, I think, and they were just clinical and finished off the game. And then I guess the turnaround for the bronze medal match was pretty quick, and we didn't quite get ourselves up for it, something we're not used to, losing a semi-final in a big world event and then having to get up for the game the next day. And unfortunately, we lost to New Zealand in that one.
Yeah, Heather, what was it? I know you weren't involved in it, but you must have been around the group and chatting to the ladies and what have you. Was it strange playing for a Commonwealth medal, or was it just like another game of cricket? Was there more pressure?
Oh, it's just really strange actually, because we lost that close game against India, and you know what it's like in a close game in a semi-final. The emotions are all over the place, and obviously everyone's disappointed, and then we had to play again at 10 a.m. the next morning and obviously fight for that bronze medal. And New Zealand, who we played in that match, probably weren't expecting to beat Australia in the other semi-final. And yeah, it was very different, and the whole feel around the Commonwealth was really cool to be involved in. It was such a different vibe, being part of Team England, going to an opening ceremony, walking out in front of a massive crowd, to Queen's We Will Rock You, and all the other things that come with the Commonwealth Games. But obviously disappointing, but really cool to be involved in. And the crowds were awesome at Edgbaston as well. The support we got, we had people lining up as we came off the bus every time and clapping us back on the bus when we left the ground. So yeah, the support was amazing, and it was just nice to be involved in a multi-sport event and be part of Team England.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that, because cricket's obviously it's a very insular sport. We don't often mix with other sports, do we? You know, we kind of play on different time zones in strange parts of the world. So I like my athletics. I've got it on in the background now, and I said, just being part of that. Were you in the athletes' village and things like that? Like, just were you knocking around with any of the other sports at all?
Well, as the newbies, we were put in a hotel with beach volleyball, so it was us at beach volleyball. Obviously the two rookie sports apparently, and the rest of the teams and the sports were in a couple of villages spread around Birmingham. I think COVID stopped the brand new village that was going to be made, but it did mean we didn't have to share rooms, or all of us didn't have to share rooms, and we didn't have to stay in university accommodation. So I think the hotel was quite a nice thing. We got to know the beach volleyball players quite well, and got to go and support them down at Smithfields, where they held the beach volleyball as well.
But those experiences are really important, though, Heather, aren't they? I mean, I can remember talking to Paul Casey, the golfer, on the eve of the Tokyo Olympics, and you could argue, couldn't you, Tamal, that golf is a bit similar to cricket. You know, you can be isolated and playing around the world and constantly travelling and all of that kind of stuff. Paul Casey, honestly, Heather, in that build-up to the Olympics, was so excited to have, you know, the GB kit and to be bumping into whoever it may be, and that was COVID, you know, ruined as well to a certain extent, the experience. Bumping into these kinds of people and that kind of people and teammates, but also superstars from other sports. You have to embrace it.
You do, and it was really cool to go and see some of the events as well. I've never actually watched athletics, and to go along to the stadium and watch it was pretty cool. And when you arrive into the hotel, we all got given about 15 Team England badges, and apparently you're meant to swap them with other countries, so that was a nice icebreaker. I think Danny White ended up with about 40 badges on accreditation, so some took it a bit more seriously than others, but it was really cool just going to the village. We were able to go down there and just walk around and just chat to people, and you can watch athletes going past and try and guess which sport that they compete in, which is quite a fun game.
Where are England's women at then now, Heather, with the head coach role about to be vacant? Lisa Carley's decided not to take up the offer of a contract extension, so India's visit in September will be her final series in charge. Are we about to use that horrible transition phase, or are we not at that stage?
Well, I think the team started to transition quite a lot this summer, actually, after the World Cup and the Ashes that obviously we had this winter. We've brought quite a few young players into the side. Alice Capsey, Freya Kemp, Izzy Wong have started to be England regulars, and it's been really exciting, actually. I think before the knockout stages of the Commonwealth Games, we'd had a brilliant summer. We probably hadn't been tested how we wanted, but some of the performances that we had were outstanding. Emma Lamb as well, nailing down that ODI opening place and putting in some real solid performances. Sophia Dunkley moving up to 3 and scoring her first international 100. So yeah, the transition phase has probably already started, and I think that'll be a little bit of Lisa's legacy, starting to blood those young players and really start to see competition for places, which will be really good for us as a side.
Yeah, will you be consulted about the new coach, Heather? Or is it sort of just you? Yeah.
I won't be involved in the process, I don't think. I'll probably have a chat with Jonathan Finch, who's our head of high performance, around what we think the team needs and what sort of coach we'll be looking for, but I imagine I won't be involved too much. That'll be a decision above my pay grade.
And obviously that relationship obviously is crucial. How do you go about sort of getting to know a new coach? How does that work? Go out to dinner a couple of times or what?
Well, Lisa, I already knew Lisa when she came into the role. She's spent a long time in England years back coaching the academy, and I got to know her quite well around the scene. So yeah, I guess so. It depends who gets the job. It might be someone that I know a little bit already and have a relationship, or it might be someone completely new. So yeah, I guess so. Go for a bit of dinner. Don't know, maybe play a bit of cards. I'm not too sure how it works.
Just a final one before we let you go. The amount of time between Lisa leaving and a new coach being appointed and then the T20 World Cup, that amount of time is fine, is it?
I think so. Lisa came in originally before the 2020 World Cup quite late, and the way the schedule is now, there's no perfect time to change coach. There's a world event pretty much every year, so yeah, I definitely think there's time for a new coach to bed in and get the team right and where we need to be going into that T20 World Cup.
Heather, thank you. We will talk soon. Heather Knight with us on 5 Live Cricket. Tamal Mills and Phil Tufnell are with us, and Jack Leach joins us now ahead of the Test series against South Africa starting on Wednesday at Lords. Evening, Jack.
Hi guys, nice to be with you.
Thank you very much for being on. We were just talking about the England women changing head coach. It can have a real positive effect, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously we had a great start to the summer, and just excited to get back into it. Really, it seems like ages ago now, but really excited to get back playing some Test cricket, and looking forward to the series against South Africa. Obviously, a good side, so it'll be another good challenge for us.
Yeah, Jack Tuffers here. First of all, congratulations on Headingley, old boy.
Thank you, mate. I saw you afterwards in the bar, and you were very nice to me, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
No, absolutely. Well, you've kind of just mentioned it beforehand. Does it feel like the start of the summer again, really?
Yeah, I think so. The way the summer has sort of split up, I guess it's like almost two little sections. So it's kind of we met up yesterday for a first training session, and the guys have obviously been off doing various things, 100 stuff and some county championship stuff, and so just nice to get all back together and I think it's the most I've looked forward to kind of going back to it, the England stuff, and it just feels like home in the dressing room, and that's always a good feeling for us to have as players, I think.
Alici, T here. Does this, obviously with this little break that you guys had and now you're coming back, obviously those tests at the start of the summer were so great for everybody to watch. Does this feel a little bit different? I know obviously there's been a lot spoken in English cricket about Bazball and the way you guys are playing, but also I've been reading in the press like Dean Elgar's been quite outspoken, hasn't he? I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen it. He's kind of quieting it down a little bit, almost challenging you guys to do it against their bowling attack. South Africa have obviously got a brilliant bowling attack. I know Rabada might be struggling with injury, but have any of those kind of any chat around the dressing room? I can imagine guys like Stokesy and stuff, if anything, want to go even harder.
Definitely. I think what I would say is Stokesy's kind of like reminded us of what worked, and what we really focused on in those 4 games. I guess leading into any series, there's a lot of outside noise, but I think what we did so well in those first 4 games was kind of not listen to that and to kind of tell our own story from within the group. So I think that's been quite a powerful thing, and we know that this is a new series. And maybe important to sort of reset and make sure that we get those things right that we were doing so well earlier in the summer, and because we really trust that they work, and see where that takes us again, and enjoy the ride of it.
Sorry, Timel. No, go on.
No, I was just going to say, what about, obviously we've seen most of the test matches at the start of the summer focused around the batting, and obviously these brilliant innings from Johnny, Stokesy and stuff. What difference have you felt out in the middle with the ball, as a bowling unit, individuals? How has it been on that side of it? Obviously, I watched the game as a bowler, not a batter.
Yeah, I think Bazball is an interesting one. I think from the outside, it feels like people maybe think that we just whack it. It's actually a lot more than that. I think it's a mindset to how we approach every moment of the game, and that's with the ball as well. And I think we're all about trying to take wickets and be on the front foot in terms of looking to take wickets, and that might mean going for a few runs at times, but as long as we're trying to take wickets and we've got plans of how we're trying to get guys out, I think having that in the forefront of our mind is a lot more powerful than maybe saying, we're not going to go for runs straight away. That's kind of a negative, you're putting a negative spin on that. So I think really trying to be looking to take wickets has been a really positive thing in the bowling, and then in the batting, I think obviously the way the guys have played has been unbelievable, and but I think again it's just kind of trying to weigh up every situation and see it in a positive way, and how you can positively impact that moment of the game. So I think it's just been a mindset shift rather than we just whack it, and I think it's been it's been very fun to be involved with.
There's part of that sounds very obvious as well, Jack. Like every every team environment, you would want people to have a positive outlook, positive mindset, not worry about the smaller things or whatever, and look at the bigger picture. But sort of from what you said, and what I suppose what some of the other guys have said, that it's not always the case in certain environments. I'm not trying to put any other coaches away or anything like that. But it doesn't always happen like that.
No, and I think that's the amazing thing, and what it's made me kind of question myself on is like how I viewed the game of cricket and maybe the longer format of the game, because there are periods which are quite slow, not much is happening. You can kind of get into quite a defensive mindset without really knowing it, and trying to sort of take the safe option and weigh things up in that way. And actually, when you do look to take the more aggressive approach, I think it can be very powerful in the longer format. And it's really made me think about how I view the game. And something that should seem quite obvious, but I think it's amazing how many teams you find yourself playing in that maybe you end up getting into a little bit of a negative mindset of how can we not lose this game rather than how can we win this game.
Yeah, well, I noticed it, chappers, with just simple things, especially when the boys were in the field, just lengths the boys were bowling, field placings, when the guys, we always had that extra slip in. We didn't put an extra cover in. We kept bowling full. They were going, wasn't it, Jack? You know what I mean? And I think that helped you as well, didn't it? When you got your 10 for or 11 for however many it was, you kept that mid-off up. You didn't then sit one back and they knocked one and things like that. That is just always taking the positive option. On the back of that, I'm loath to call it Bazball because I know Baz doesn't like it.
He doesn't.
Does that style of cricket have a plan B? Because it's not going to work every time, is it?
Yeah, no, that's true. I think just on that, with the having mid-off up and stuff, trust me, it wasn't through not trying to get my mid-off back, but Stokesy wouldn't let it happen. So, even during the games, I can feel myself wanting to take that safe option, but then it's Stokesy in my ear that actually kind of keeps me in that good positive frame of mind. So I think that's been brilliant to kind of experience and just to have his backing. And to bowl me in some places where I feel like he's given me good responsibility, and I think you get a lot of confidence from that. In terms of Plan B, I feel like I've been asked a couple of times what happens when you're challenged. I felt in all of those games we were actually behind. Those chases were actually before we might not have gone for some of them, and so I guess. You kind of, I feel like we have actually been challenged, and I guess it's nothing like that. Nothing you do is going to guarantee you win every game. You will lose games at times, but I think for me, it's like I'm on this experience and journey with it, and I guess I'll find out about that as we go, and I'll do what Baz and Stokesy tell me to do. I think we're just really enjoying how we're going about things. The messages from those guys are very clear as we go along and in the game. So, I think we've got real clarity as we go along. And so I guess we'll probably be doing Plan B without even knowing we're doing Plan B, maybe. So, all good with that, I think.
Yeah, better go out like a lion than a lamb. That's what we always used to say.
Moeen Ali has joined us as well and has learnt mine and Tuffer's hand signals for can I just make a little point before you come in, as we all look at each other. Moeen's hit 52 off 28 for Birmingham Phoenix this evening as they beat the Trent Rockets. That's a big win in the context of the table, actually, isn't it, Moeen?
Am I off? Yeah. Great win in the end. I think actually wasn't easy in the end. I thought it'd be a lot easier than that, and then just seemed like it did a bit. It was great win, great points on the board.
And to restrict Trent Rockets and actually make inroads early into their batting order, which had been so dominant at Old Trafford the other day, particularly David Malan. I mean, you got off to a good start.
Yeah, spin it to win it, toughest.
I saw that, Mo.
It was great. It was, I mean, obviously, I think those 2 wickets up top were crucial. And obviously, I think those 3 games they won, they were chasing, and it's a different type of pressure sometimes when you have to bat first and put a score on the board. I'm not saying they obviously still a very good side. They still managed to get, I think, 140 plus, but I thought those wickets up top really helped us, and we bowled fantastically well. I thought our bowling was top drawer today.
Yeah, it must have been delighted with the win down at the Welsh Fire as well, mate. I mean, to restrict that shows a lot of character in the side and a lot of belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, and those are the wins that you want. I think a lot of teams can score 180, 190, win comfortably, but I think when you win those kind of games, you get used to those tight scenarios and sort of tight matches, and you get more confidence winning those games than you do probably like tonight, for example. Because those are the wins that, as a team you've done really well. You've bowled well as a unit. You managed to scrape 130 and defend that. You get more and more confidence from those type of wins than you would do sort of an easy type of win, which I would say other teams have had. And I think as a team, I would prefer to be having those tight games rather than those sort of one-sided type of games.
Tamal, a season and a half into the 100, are we now at a stage where we know what works and what doesn't? What's good? What are good targets and what aren't?
No, I think the game's still going to evolve. I think the average scores this year are already up from last year. That was one thing that I predicted coming into it. I know the Blast this year, I'm sure Mo will agree, the Blast was much higher scoring. I think in general in world cricket in short format, batters are just being more aggressive. The pitches have been pretty good, and if you, as Mo knows, if you trust the pitch pretty much, the batters are so good that they can clear the fence anywhere. So teams are being more aggressive. The average scores are up this year, putting more pressure on the bowlers. As we saw tonight, Mo 50 off 20 odd balls. Yeah. Libby, we know what he can do. So I think there's more pressure on the bowlers this year. I think last year it was a little bit bowler friendly. Batters not quite knowing how to play. Do I go really aggressive? Do I keep wickets in hand? One thing I really found as a bowler is the 5 balls really benefited the bowler, because if you it's twofold. If you bowl 2 or 3 good balls to start your set of 5. You've only got to bowl 2 more balls and then you're off, and then the batter, the pressure's on the batter. And likewise, if you bowl in a bad set, if you've got 1 less ball that can get hit for 6. You know, again, I keep saying it, but Mo will know when you're lining up a bowler and you just want to keep taking him down, having 1 less ball at him, you're gutted. You want to face that bowler for as long as you can, don't you? So I definitely feel like there's a bit of a difference year 2 to year 1, but I'm sure it's making for more entertaining cricket on the TV. That's for sure.
And your man Mo, your youngster got the first ton, didn't he?
Oh,
yeah, he did. Will Smeed is
against me.
Yeah, he's actually a brilliant. He's a brilliant player. He's at the minute so far he's gone a bit hit and miss, but he'll get better. He's only, I think, 21.
Yeah.
He's a very strong player. He's a strong boy. He's got all the shots. He's a proper player. I think he's definitely one for the future. Him and Will Jacks are, in my opinion, the 2 best young players around.
He got the ton, Will Jacks, last night. David Milan was close against Manchester. Do you think they'll become a more common occurrence, Mo?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're going to have those guys where so even someone like David Milan, who's he's a unbelievable player. Actually, he's a proper player, but you wouldn't associate him with getting close to scoring hundreds in the 100, but he's scoring so quickly at the minute, and he's playing some beautiful shots. But I think it'll be regular and it'll become more common when, especially openers, I think when they get in, they'll score hundreds and big hundreds at it.
How difficult is it to captain in this format? I'm not talking about how quick it is, and I hold my hands up here to self-interest in that I'm involved in Manchester, okay, and I reckon over 3.
They're not doing so well.
No. But Tuffers, my point here being, you draft in January, players are injured come July. Sri Lanka, 48 hours before Hasaranga's due to play his first game, decide actually he's not allowed to play, so you lose someone else again, and it's and from an organisational point of view, it is an absolute nightmare. I'll be honest with you, to try and run it as a sporting organisation. I have to be honest about that. And I would imagine captaincy-wise as well, Mo. Yeah. You know, you have an international player for 4 games, and then they might have to go off and do whatever they're doing next. Or, you know, I know every sport gets injuries, but to try and run it as a settled sporting organisation or team is blooming hard because the conditions are against it.
Yeah, and obviously, I think, like you said, those injuries they kill you sometimes, as you can see with Southern Brave and other teams. We've had loads of injuries with our overseas players, and actually difficult to get overseas players. I think the one thing we've done really well this year is we've tried to get guys who are going to be available for the whole thing. We're trying to look at who's not probably going to get picked for Australia, for example, or I'd rather somebody who's probably not as good or not a big name, but he's available for the whole thing, rather than guys then going CPL or only available for 3 games. I mean, it's a difficult one because tactically, if you have somebody for 1 game, you can retain him next year. And you also have to keep that in mind because next year a lot more players will be available, etc. So it is very difficult. But I think the most important thing is to have your core players your English players strong. A lot of the time, I think if you look around the world, all the top franchise teams, they have a very strong local group of players, and I think that's really important. I mean, last year Southern Brave were amazing with that. You had us guys as well. We did quite well with local. I mean, you managed to keep probably 10 English players then in the end, or 9, which is a big number. And then you kind of have to mess around a bit, and everything's last minute. You're right. It's carnage, and you almost, as a captain and a coach, you kind of give up and you think, you know what, I'm happy with what I have. Anybody that comes in now is a bonus. We're always looking for another player. We just got Dorcius as well as a cover. We played one game with 2 overseas players. Tonight, I think we played with 2 more. So we're not always playing with 3, and that's where your local players is key.
And I wonder, Tamal, whether this means that this is a competition that is going to evolve into something that maybe they weren't expecting. You know, I think at the start they might have thought, all singing, all dancing, the big superstars, this, that and the other. But availability is so hard. I wonder whether it then becomes more an opportunity for really to see the best young talent who are on the verge of England with some really established county pros alongside them.
Yeah, as Mo said, you got to get your English core sorted. Again, on that availability point, I was involved. So I was sorted my retention out early, and then we were talking about, we had the choice of retaining Andre Russell, who you guys signed, knowing that he was only going to be available for 5 games, or we could retain Tim David, who we knew was going to be available for the whole competition. It was a choice between those two, and we decided to go with Tim because we know he's going to be available for the whole thing. But yeah, there's going to be opportunities always for young guys to come in as a replacement player or just in the draft and become a staple of the team. I know Will Smeed at Birmingham, he was a replacement player last year, I think, or a wildcard player. Yeah. And look, he's now one of the first names on the team sheet, and that's how quickly your fortunes can change. And with the Southern Brave last year, we had an all-local bowling attack. You had myself, Chris Jordan, George Garton, Craig Overton, and Jake Lintott. All English guys. You know, obviously it's not worked out for us this year with injuries and stuff, but last year we pretty much all played every game. And in a short tournament like the 100, if you can be settled and have a settled team, it makes a big difference. But I know the ECB have managed to get themselves a window from next year onwards where there's not going to be an awful lot of international cricket played during the 100. So hopefully these big names that we get playing can play the whole tournament and entertain the crowds that have been great again this year.
Yeah, Chappers, are you under a bit of pressure?
No. I'll offer my resignation at the end. I'm not involved in coaching them, Phil, and our coach is under any pressure either. Honestly, it's a real insight into just all the logistical and schedule issues that cricket has at the moment. Jack Leach is still with us. We're going to have to let you go, Jack, because you've been very patient. Do you watch the 100 and think, I'm glad I'm not involved in that?
I actually had a week with the Birmingham Phoenix with Mo.
Yes, Jackie.
Yeah, I'm a big Phoenix fan, and I was watching the boys tonight with great interest, so great win for the boys.
Good stuff. Thank you very much for coming on, Jack. Go well this week. Thanks for being with us.
Well done, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Bowl well, Jack. Good
Cheers,
luck, mate.
Jack. Then the other challenge, Moan, of course, is as players improve, they might ask for more money in a certain draft slot, and you can't keep them all, which is the idea being behind that, then, is that it keeps the competition balanced.
Yeah, 100%. I think we saw, being year 2 this year, that your highest bracket players they're not always your best players this year. I think so. For example, I came down one to try and get a top international player because it's tactically you have to. I mean, you want one of the top picks and stuff, and loads of the players moved around a little bit. We signed Ali Stone for a high price in the end, but he obviously got injured for us. But just to get him, we had to give him that sort of slot and things like that. So tactically it's very difficult. And like you said, I think the younger guys who do well, they'll probably end up asking for more money, and you might lose 1 or 2. And hopefully we won't, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do, or other teams also do that as well.
Yeah, I think moving forward with the 100, it's just my opinion. I think they need to do away with the salary slots, because you're going to struggle to keep teams together. Because as you say, as soon as people do well, they're obviously naturally going to want more money. I know Chris Jordan, for us, for example, he could have definitely got more money if he went back in the draft, but he wanted to stay with Southern Brave. So you almost get in a situation where you're doing favours, or you get the directors of cricket will be asking guys to take less money to stay at the team, because you can only pay each player. There's only 2 salary brackets per player, whereas in all other leagues really around the world you have kind of bigger pots, and you kind of have to divvy it around as you can. So it's tough to try and keep a team together, and that's something that they might look at in the future. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jamal, do you think that that's crucial though to the 100? That it's that you're just not turning up one year and there's 11 different fellas there. You don't want to be just supporting the team in blue or orange, do you? You want to be supporting Tymal Miles, Moeen Ali. You want him to be a guy that sort of stays there for years.
Yeah, I think, because the one thing I was surprised at with the 100 was how quickly the fans actually took to the teams. Like I actually thought it would take a few years, and one of the big arguments was, I'm from Somerset, I'm not going to support whatever team. But my counter argument to that was, that's okay. Like, you can just go to the cricket and enjoy the cricket, because it's going to be good cricket, and you can support the players, watch the players. But I was actually really surprised, like year 1 and year 2, it seems like the home fans are actually supporting the teams. All the kids are wearing the merch.
Absolutely.
And to go with that, to build on that, you need to have that team identity. As you say, you need to try and keep that core team together, and then obviously your international players or your fringe players bleed in around that. You don't want to be in a situation where, as a player, you feel like, look, I can, because some of the differences you can earn potentially if you stay or go, it's a lot of money. You don't want to be in a situation where, okay, I could stay for the team I enjoy playing for, blah, 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 or I could earn 50, 75 grand more if I go to another team. Like, it's a lot of money that they're talking about, and if you want to have that brand identity and that consistency and build brands and clubs, because these are new clubs, aren't they? I think looking into that could be beneficial.
Moeen, we're going to let you go. Thanks for joining us. Although I know you said that, I mean, it's blooming exhausting, isn't it, this schedule? I know you've spoken about it this week, but crikey, Charlie,
the 100 is actually a lot more relaxed than it's been, actually, in terms of it's a bit of downtime, because the international schedule was horrendous. So this has been more like a lot more chilled.
Go and enjoy your win. Thank you very much for joining us.
Play, mate.
Well played, Mo. Well done, mate.
Cheers. Well played. Moeen Ali with us on 5 Live Cricket. Mind you, you've got to start questioning your career when I'm.
Oh, he's got his medal.
Could be a low point, Tuffers, when you're asking me whether I'm questioning my future. I'm not quite sure how I've got into that situation.
They might be restructuring from the top, chappers. You never know.
Man United, Manchester Originals.
Let's go back to the Test series, shall we? And we can hear from the South African head coach, Mark Bouch. He did his press conference today. He talked about how a lot of the South African players lack experience of playing in England, and therefore what's going to happen this week, playing at Lords, is a big deal.
I think it's a great environment to play cricket. Coming to the home of cricket, Lords is a special place to play cricket, a great occasion. This is where legends are made. We walk into the change room, you see all the names on the board. There's so many stories around those performances. So it shouldn't be a fear factor. It's just about us as coaches and as a coaching staff trying to give guys certain tools to deal with the pressures and emotions that you're going to feel in the morning. You can't hide from that. They're going to be there. It's a great feeling, especially if you can overcome that and do well. We spoke about coming to Lords and the feeling of walking through the gates, and that emotion of, like, you're playing at the home of cricket, and it is a different feeling when you walk through those gates compared to any other gate in the world. Not to say that any other ground is not as special, but there is an extra sense of a specialness when you walk into Lords. So the guys walk through the museum. As you say, a lot of the youngsters, guys have been here before, are probably still looking around, still looking at W.G. Grace's gloves and going, don't know if I could wear those today. But a lot of the youngsters were walking around having a look at certain things. They put on a nice little South African section for us as well. So we've been successful here as well. So hopefully we can look at that and their memories hopefully to be created at this venue. So no, they would like to be a part of those memories created. So yeah, as I said, it's a nice position for me as coach to be in. Because, as I said, you don't have to get the boys worked up for this game. I think the youngsters around here, they want to be and they want to perform at this ground. They want to be a part of hopefully creating something special and becoming legends of the game, like a lot of the cricketers in the past have been.
The lack of experience of playing in England that Mark Boucher was talking about with several of his players, Phil, did we see that in the Lions game?
Perhaps. Listen, England is difficult. You've got this moving ball, you've got the likes of Stuart Broad, Jimmy Anderson, Duke Ball swinging around a bit and everything. But I think this South African side is a side that's on the up. I think that England need to be a little bit careful. Mark Boucher, very astute coach as well. And we're all talking about this new brand that England are playing. I think that now it's going to be interesting to see how teams then tactically come up against it. I don't think they'll perhaps start with, 3 slips and a gully or something, you know what I mean? I think that things are just going to be a little bit tougher for England. I don't think, it was a bit of a shock and awe factor, wasn't it, against New Zealand, and it took everyone on the hop a little bit. But as Tamal knows, bowlers these days, they don't take long for the old grapevine to go round, and tactically, we have got a noggin on the head, and we do realise how to sort of like counter-attack these kind of guys. So I think there'll be a lot of chat in that South African dressing room. Listen, the conditions are always going to be tricky for the youngsters. It's English conditions, that's fine, but I think this South African side might have something about them.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm looking forward to this. It seems, as I mentioned earlier with Leachy, I think it could have a bit of needle about it. The way Dean Elgar, their captain's been talking about it in the press. Mark Boucher, I think he did a press conference either today or yesterday, and he kind of barred the word Bazball being used in the press conference. As I said earlier, Elgar has kind of questioned how Bazball will go against their bowling attack. South Africa have got a very, very strong bowling attack. So it seems to have definitely ruffled a few feathers, the way England played, and, it isn't going to last forever. But, England won pretty convincingly this summer in brilliant fashion, didn't they, at the start? It was brilliant to watch. I think we need to remember it. They're not going to win every Test series for from now on in, and this will be a really good test, I think. And but then the England Lions beat South Africa. They thrashed them, didn't they? This last week. It was and Sam Billings came out, and he was the captain of that team, and he said, "Yeah, look, we've just thrashed they're pretty much their main side." So. I think there's a little bit on this series. I think I'm looking forward to watching it.
No, I think it's the first. It's the first Test series. I'm really excited to see how it goes, because this is South Africa. They're a tough nation. They play tough cricket. They don't mess about. So. The Lions game, okay, you know what I mean? If you take it sort of on its own, it looks all rosy for England. But if anything, that will hurt, and they'll come back even stronger.
On the tactical side of things that you mentioned, Phil, I mean, were New Zealand not able to adjust because they were in the heat of a 3-match Test series? Is it something that needs to be taken out of a Test series, properly analysed, and then you put a plan together? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, it could almost be taken as in sort of like, well, it's going to be a one-day game when we're going to set one-day fields. Okay, then it's going to be the likes of Joe Root who's going to look to knock it about and what have you. But if the guys are going like that, if they're like the Johnny B's and the Stokeses are smashing it everywhere, it did take a little bit of time for New Zealand to start thinking to themselves, well, hold on a minute, you know what I mean? We can't just have everyone on the boundary, and we can't just keep having these slips and everything. Captains and sides and analysts do sort of look into this, and they will see where the ball's going, because I'd like to play England at cards, because they've almost sort of like showed their hand, haven't they? You know what I mean? Stokesy coming out and saying, well, listen, I wish they'd have got 500 because we would have chased it. Well, okay, then we probably will get 500 next time, sort of thing. So you've got to be adaptable in this kind of game of cricket, and you've got to play cricket smarts as well. As Leachy was just saying there, it's not all about crash, bang, wallop, and I think Joe Root is key. Joe Root is key to that.
I'm just going to switch back to the 100 because we had an historic moment over the weekend when Trent Rockets allowed, and this is not my future on the line here, Tuffers, either. Trent Rockets, Alana King took a hat-trick against the Manchester Originals at Old Trafford, the first women's hat-trick in the 100. Alana is with us now. Congratulations, Alana, on being a history maker.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
And I know that it really sunk in with you afterwards, and it really mattered because you did the hat trick where Shane Warne did the ball of the century, and that really mattered to you.
Oh, yeah, it was a pretty special moment, I guess, and it's a pretty special ground. And Old Trafford was one of Warnie's favourite grounds, and yeah, I was just happy that I could take a few poles where the King took plenty. On
the hat-trick ball, what goes through it? But bearing in mind this is such a fast format as well, you've got the first two. What is going through your mind for the third one?
I'm just making sure that I'm just it comes out of the hand well. That's all I'm hoping for. And you bowl thousands of them in the nets, I guess. But you never really dream of getting a hat trick, I guess. You always wonder when and if and how it's going to pan out and stuff. But I guess whilst you're in the moment, you're just trying to bowl your best ball. And that's what I did. And, yeah, it came out beautifully and I couldn't be happier.
You're on some run at the moment. You are, aren't you, with your with your achievements?
Yeah, that's a ride that I'm clearly loving at the moment, and I'll ride all the ways that come along with it. But it's nice to have some success along the way, and I guess we play cricket because we love it, and obviously winning helps, I guess. And but I'm just having the best time of my life and loving every moment that I get to roll a few out. Hopefully there'll be more in the Aussie colours. And yeah, just happy to keep rolling a few out and doing it with a big smile on my face.
But uncapped, for people that don't know, uncapped in any format by Australia before the 20th of January. And then since then, you've debuted in the T20s, one-day internationals, Test cricket, you've won the Ashes, you've won the World Cup, you're now in the 100. In some ways, as you said, you're just enjoying the ride with a smile on your face. Not having the time to think about it is probably a blessing and a positive, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess like there's moments where you can really appreciate what you've accomplished, but it turns pretty quickly when you've got something else to focus on. Like we just won gold at the Commonwealth Games, which was such a historic moment for the women's game and for our team as well. And then it was quickly shifted into getting in and amongst the Trent Rockets. 2 days later, I drove up to Nottingham, and yeah, it was pretty quick to change events, I guess. So yeah, it was just nice to play my part, and I'm happy I'm continuing doing that for the Trent Rockets.
Good stuff. Thank you very much for joining us on 5 Live, Alana. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Alana King on 5 Live Cricket. Yes, Tuffer, sorry, you were coming in.
No, I'm just talking about Alana King's absolutely top bowler. Great action, gets good fizz on it. Great competitor as well. She's great for the game.
Yeah, there is that element though, Tamal, isn't there? Of just being in that whirlwind and not having to actually think about it and just go from one success to the next. It must be a great ride to be on.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, she also won the Big Bash at the end of last year as well. She was playing for the Perth Scorchers. I was playing for the male side, and we both won the BBL last year as well. So yeah, as you say, when you play short format cricket, it can be a bit of a treadmill, but it's a bloody good one when you're winning, and you're just bouncing around tournament to tournament. I had that this winter, as I said. I won the T10, won the 100. Went to the World Cup where we lost in the semi, but then I went to the Big Bash and we won that. I played in the T10 tournament, we won that, and it's it can be tough. You're traveling, you're playing, you don't feel like you ever stop, but you have the potential within a 5-6 month period to have some really good times, to win a couple of trophies, spend some time meeting some amazing people all around the world, and really enjoy those times while they last.
And that will be the case more and more, won't it, Tamal, really? You get that sense that that's how it's going. What will be quite interesting, I suppose, is where the investment comes, and if investment goes into a lot of different franchises in different markets, and not far off, the players travel as a core to all the franchises that are linked.
Yeah, look, I don't know how much time we've got to get into all of that, but the landscape of world cricket is certainly changing. There's 2 new tournaments that are starting in January in the UAE and in South Africa that are mainly owned by the IPL teams that are now offering more money than any other league in the world outside of the IPL. I've signed up. I'm signed up playing in the South African League this year. And yeah, it's getting to a point now. So Trent Boult, the New Zealand opening bowler, brilliant bowler. If he wants to be, he could now effectively be paid by a franchise all year round. He's asked to be withdrawn from his New Zealand contract because he played for the Rajasthan Royals in the IPL. So in theory, you could play for those guys in April. He can play for the Barbados Royals in the CPL in September, and then he can play in the South African in the Pal Royals in January and earn an amazing amount of money for much less time. So yeah, the landscape of cricket is certainly changing.
And that really wasn't the final question to ask, was it? When we could do a whole show on that in itself,
Exactly.
And maybe we will at some point. Yeah.